Hello, my friends, and welcome. Welcome back to another session with the older man. Today, my friends, is Sunday, and I want to touch on a particular subject, and it's housing. Housing around the world. You know one thing, guys? I've been living here for 16 years in Dubai, and there's one thing I've not seen. Never ever seen, ever, is a homeless person. Not one local homeless or not one foreign homeless person. This tells you something. This tells you that somewhere along the line, some Western countries have lost the plot. And it has nothing to do with money, because I lived in Saudi Arabia for a year and they had homeless people. And it's not, and I can tell you, it's not for a lack of money. So, hey, you tell me. You know, I'm fascinated by California.
Driving around town, there's homeless encampments all over the place. They're on the sides of the roads and dirt lots. There's long stretches of them on sidewalks. Some are in tents, some are in RVs, some are actual encampments with makeshift structures where hundreds of people gather into communities. It's estimated there's about 5,000 homeless individuals throughout the city of Oakland, but nobody really knows the exact answer. And the number of people on the streets in Oakland's nearly doubled in the last 2 years alone. A lot of that has to do with the high cost of living in the Bay Area. Apartments that were once $1,000 a month now cost closer to $3,000 a month. A lot of the homeless are addicts, but there's no real one reason homelessness is so high in Oakland. If you ask 10 homeless people why they live on the streets, you're going to get 10 different answers.
You know, I've been there quite a few times. I used to own a Dunkin' Donuts Baskin Robbins franchise, and going over there, I spent 2 weeks over there doing training, franchise training, and I got to walk around, I got to know the place, but holy crap, I have been noticing from a lot of online videos that California has now become literally an S-hole of a place, lack of a better term, man. The homelessness on the street is mind-blowing. And I see the problem, and then I think to myself, wow, why is it that the government in that state can't solve this problem easily? Because I look at other places around the world. Today, I don't own property. I have investments. I will always be in a position where I can rent something, and I don't need to live in this massive, extravagant lifestyle. I am capable of enjoying a very humble life, and to me, that gives me comfort that I'll be okay. Right? I make sure I have enough life insurance and enough health insurance so that I never get hit with a health problem that can't be solved by insurance. So I tend to say to myself, all right, you're covered, buddy. You're covered. You got the basics covered. And the same thing for my wife. We got health insurance, we got life insurance, and we got enough investments that we're good. Because based on the videos you just watched, my friends.
Well, I lost my job and my apartment within 2 weeks of each other, about 2 years ago. I had to make some quick decisions and had my daughter to stay with her godmother for what I thought was going to be about 60 days, at the most 90, and we are approaching 2 years.
So I got laid off from that job, and then I needed to move and find a cheaper place because I couldn't afford the place anymore.
Well, I lost my job, lost my house, and then I ended up having to move in with my parents. And because of the amount of people that were living at the house, the manager would not allow us to be there, so I had to leave. And I had to leave my kids there with them.
Well, I became homeless in 2018 because I lost my job, and I've been here ever since.
Lost my job, lost my lease, and then I blew the engine in my truck.
You notice one thing, one very common theme? I lost my job. And for all of you ladies who are talking about my job, my career, my job, you have no idea how fragile your life is when you're depending on your job. I can guarantee you, if you're married to your job and you decided not to get married to a man because he might leave you or you might not be happy, I can assure you, you are much better off, safer, with a man who's holding it down while you are getting screwed by your job. Usually, it's not the opposite. A good man will not leave you faster than your job will screw you. Bear that in mind. And there's nothing worse than losing a job and not having a support system. This is the mistake a lot of women make. And listen, I'm not just picking on the woman. I just had to make that point because a lot of women are always focusing on the freaking job first instead of the relationship. My career, my career, my career. Most of you guys don't have careers. You have jobs. And when that company is ready to replace you with AI or a younger version of yourself, you're screwed. But if you had put that same amount of energy into a relationship with a man, you would have been okay because men don't leave as much as the job leaves you. But I digress because this is not about relationships. This episode is not about relationship. It's about housing. It's about one of the most basic needs, the most basic requirements on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Food and shelter. Shelter is number 2. You need food first and shelter after that. You can do without shelter, still have food and survive, but you need food first. So I want to look at some options, guys. So I was looking at this video here in Finland, how Finland solved the homeless problem. And I can't understand why America can't do this. Putting housing first, not solving the drug problem first, solving the housing problem first. And it's because it's based on this simple premise. If you still have the person in a problem situation and tell them, hey, you got to get off the drugs before you can get housing, the man is or woman is still stressed out. More than likely, they need the drugs to freaking numb the pain. So it's much harder to get off the drugs when you don't even have shelter over your head. You need to deal with that stress first. Whereas Finland discovered house first, the person now feels better. They're much more comfortable. They feel safer. They don't need the drugs to numb the pain, so they can now focus on getting off the drugs. The common sense way of looking at life, I fear, is missing in American politics and American social structure. And listen, I'm not picking on Americans. I'm just pointing out a flaw in the way the system works. But let's just take a quick look at this one.
Country has gone from bad to worse.
As the crisis deepens, so has the criminalization of homelessness.
RV after RV parked here because people have nowhere else to go.
New data shows that homelessness in the United States is at an all-time high.
But there's one country that has redefined how nations can tackle homelessness. Finland is one of the only countries in the world to significantly decrease homelessness. Invisible People traveled to Helsinki to investigate.
I was walking areas in the city. If it was America, you would have seen countless homeless people.
With the leaders who made it happen.
The worse the situation is, the more important it is that you at least start a change.
Citizens living in housing first units.
Is your life better now in housing?
I don't want to lie. It's not.
And everything is better when I live here.
And the staff that supports them.
A person needs a home, so the other stuff can happen.
You can never get so low that we will not be beside you.
Housing first comes from USA.
We changed the systems completely. We went all in with the housing first.
And same time, this kind of camps disappeared.
In America, people don't want to give housing to homeless people. What would you say to them?
You would say that it saved her life and it will save others' lives too. And so that's why housing first is so great, because otherwise she might be dead.
How has her life changed in housing?
She doesn't use drugs anymore, and that's quite big.
Töitä.
Work.
Oma rytmi.
There's a rhythm in life.
Miten se sanotaan? Normaali elämä.
Normal life, which is what she wanted.
What's the favorite part of your apartment?
Sänky. Seuraava on keittiö.
Bed and the kitchen.
What is homelessness like in Finland?
Pahalta.
Very bad.
Pelot.
And it was very scary.
Täällä on kylmät talvet.
Winters are cold.
Pitkiä.
And they are long.
Homeless as hell in Finland because you'll be real cold, real wet.
It's not very nice. But where is it? Nice.
1990s, we still have 20,000 homeless people. And of course, at some point, there was a real struggle that there were many people sleeping on the streets. And because the winters are really harsh here in Finland, they would also die on the streets. So I think that was a really the wake-up call that we need to do something and change the policies quite slowly. And then we get the rapid phase when we start the Housing First 2008.
That's when they went all in on Housing First. They renovated almost all of the shelters into Housing First buildings to give homeless people their own individual apartments. They also built more affordable housing across the country, and it seems to have paid off.
In 5 years, we both created the program and halved the long-term homelessness in Finland.
Listen, I'm going to put the link to this video so that you guys can watch the rest of it. But these people are doing it. Now, I know the first thing the American society is going to say, oh, well, we're not a socialist society. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You, how much money you give to other countries? You think that is not the socialist movement? You're giving money. The government is giving money to other countries. Now, you think it's charity. Why is it not housing your own people? That's number one. Number two, there is no such thing as a pure one type of economy or one type of political party that is pure. In other words, capitalism cannot survive without some social programs. Okay? We now know that no country can survive that is pure communist, where everybody gets paid the same regardless of what profession you have. Doesn't work. It has never worked because of greed, entitlement, and people feeling that it's unfair that they went to school. For example, in Cuba. In Cuba, you have doctors who want to become taxi drivers part-time because taxi drivers make more money from tips from the foreigners versus him getting the same pay that a maid or a taxi driver would get, because that's where the government have set it up. It's a communist society. So the idea behind any pure society is a myth. You need social programs in every single society. China, they could not stay a communist society. The government knew that they had to bring in some sort of capitalist society because other societies were outshining them. But we cannot have a pure capitalist society because once one particular company break away, example, Google, Microsoft, you remember back in the day there was, what was that electrical company and the telephone company? They have to break up these companies because they become so big it does not allow any other competition. And then those massive companies can literally set the prices. And greed, capitalist greed, my friends, takes over. That's why governments have to step in and break them up. I don't want to digress. I just need to demonstrate for those naysayers that are going to come back and say, oh, we shouldn't have these sort of social problems in our country because people will take advantage of it. Yes, of course. But the stigma, the embarrassment of you not surviving or not capable of making it in a normal way in a society stops the majority of people actually taking from the social program. You all know that. My Western friends, you know that. My American friends, you know that. If any woman meets you and she says, so where do you live? Oh, I live in the ghetto. All of these homes are provided by the government. Versus you telling her that, you live in this upscale neighborhood or you live in this neighborhood where you know that there's no government programs are. Which man do you think that woman is going to look at more favorably? Yes, the man that's making it on his own that doesn't require government assistance. Simple. The big difference and what Finland has done was they've made it essential to provide the house first before getting people clean, because they realize the importance of it. Too many people dying. You realize how cold it gets in Finland? Just Google it. I mean, it's like freaking out close to Iceland. Listen, it's a cold-ass country. So people were dying on the street. So something had to be done. Now, that brings me to this next issue. Where can you get free housing then? Because if you've now reached a point in your life where you want to slow down as a man or a woman or as a couple, and you just want to get away to something slower, but you haven't accumulated enough funds to buy a house in the West, there are some options. Have you guys ever heard of Akia? Akia, meaning free or abandoned house in Japan. Because I also came across this issue where people are going to Japan, which is a declining society, in getting free or houses for little and nothing, fixing them up and having a home for themselves. Let's get into this because you guys should check this out.
What if somebody told you that you could get a house for free in Japan? Of course, cheap is good, but no one can deny the lure of something for free. Nice. Imagine a calm and beautiful area that you could get a free house to live in. People say to me all the time, "Why did you buy a house in Japan's countryside when you could have gotten a free house instead?" Japan is filled with hundreds of thousands of vacant homes, and many individuals and cities are now giving these houses away for free. Is it true? In this video, we will take a look at these 3 topics. First, we'll look at how to find free houses in Japan online. Second, we'll look at drawbacks of free houses in Japan. And third, we'll look at the hidden costs in obtaining free houses in Japan. This one's on the hearth. Thanks. So let's get the first real question out of the way.
Hi. Are there really free houses in Japan?
I can say with all assurance that yes, there are free houses in Japan.
Oh, wow.
Let's take a look at the web and see if we can find a free house in Japan online. I'm going to use Google Translate to translate a very simple phrase. I'll just erase this. And I'm going to type into Google Translate the phrase free empty house. Right away, you'll see that the phrase has the word akiya. This is the famous term in Japan being used right now that means empty or vacant house. Highlight the Japanese kanji and copy it. Then I'm going to go to my browser, erase this. Now you're going to paste your phrase into the browser search engine. You can use your internet.
Now he's going to go through ways and means to find homes online, right? But he'll also explain that it's not the best way to find them. But I want to lay it out for you guys so that you understand what an akiya is. Number one, you have to see this very simply. Japan is a dying society, meaning there are more people dying than there are babies being born. Same thing is happening around the West, but Japan and South Korea are the 2 Asian countries that are way ahead of everybody else. So a lot of people, a lot of young people have left the countryside and gone into the cities for work. They want the excitement. Everybody wants to get the bag. The young generation want to get the bag. But what happened? Their parents and grandparents who've had homes are dying off, or they're downsizing and they no longer want to keep the house. And they can't sell the house because too many people are doing the exact same thing. So they literally just abandon it because they got to pay the tax on it. And if they got to pay tax and they're not using it, or they don't have to use it, they'll just let the government take it away from them. And the government will then put it on the market for whatever price they can get. Use it to cover the taxation or to get the town up and running again, because they don't want to see their town die. They prefer to give the house away to new people. You guys can go and watch the rest of this video and but he'll also explain how you can buy one of these homes as well. But what I would like to show you guys is in one man's country, they're giving away houses. In another man's country, you can't get a house because they're too damn expensive. It's all about location, location, location. But if you think about it, if you can get a little bit of money and go to another country that have free homes, where you can live the rest of your life in peace, where you don't want the excitement anymore, where you can have a remote job, where you don't need the hustle and bustle anymore, it's a perfect thing for you guys to do. All I'm showing you guys is options. There are options out there. All right. So listen, I don't want to drag this video out too much, but I just want you guys to see the problems that we're facing and some of the solutions out there for you. So listen, you don't have to run to the Philippines to try to marry a woman and buy a house like that. You can go to Japan, buy one on your own. You can even buy it as an investment and rent it out. But the chances of getting it rented are slim because it's not like droves of people are coming in. But the government is trying to encourage people to come. But this isn't only happening in Japan. This is happening in rural areas all around Europe, where the birth rates are also dropping as well, and where towns, small villages, are trying to get people to come in to invest in the town. So this is something that you guys should look into. I'm always looking for new places to go and explore. And Japan is one of those countries, even though I've not traveled there yet. I've been to China, I've not been to Japan. I always admired it for the discipline, cleanliness. The people are very friendly, especially in the countryside. Cities, you got to work on that. Low crime rate and good social environments. All I'm saying to you, gentlemen, ladies, this is a choice. This is a choice for you. Okay? So the word, my friends, is Akia, free home in Japan. Check it out. All right? So, my friends, listen, join our membership system. Let's talk about it over there as well. And of course, if you want to book a chat with me, by all means, log in to askanolderman.com. All right? So until next time, my friends, remember, whenever in doubt, always, always ask an older man. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.